there is another dimension, beyond that which is knowledge of man. It is a dimension as vast as space, and as limitless as infinity. It is a blackness between the sun and the moon, between science and superstition, and it lies between all of man's fears and the summit of his ability. This is the space of imagination. It is an area which we call the Sci-fi Zone. In a galaxy unlike our own, the year is 2008, and the journey we're about to embark on could be our own. Welcome back to the Sci-Fi Zone, and tonight we will take a look at the space opera epic, Humanity's End. This was directed by Neil Johnson. Well, this was a wild ride. Yeah, a recommendation from friend of the show, professional amateur hour. The last man in the universe is hunted down by a hybrid race. Can he help restart the universe before the human race becomes extinct? So this movie opens with a very lengthy prologue scene, very reminiscent of the last days of the human race.
A failed Nephilim invasion of the mid-21st century, a victorious mankind expanded throughout the galaxy. By the late 25th century, mankind had split into two distinct species, the Homo sapiens and the genetically superior Homo technis, known also as the constructs.
An all-out galactic battle ensues, as a few lucky humans look to escape the planet. The action in this movie is insane. It is high octane all the way through the movie. Explosions, fast transitions. It's really hard to tell what the fuck is going on in this movie. All I know is this will fulfill your action movie needs for the next decade. The film has that cheesy Battlestar Galactic Expanse kind of thing where it zooms around quickly in space to try to make it seem more action-packed when they're flying around. And it's really used in every cut where you have a spaceship in outer space traveling across the galaxy. To add fuel to this intense, over-the-top action pacing, they seem to move quickly in space. They traverse giant ring gates with little or no explanation. It is a fast-paced movie.
That was tight!
We are introduced to our hero, Darasi Vord, who is a man who plays by his own rules.
Hey, Raj, you ever let the Reverend get unholy with you?
You're referring to sex.
You should try it sometime.
This is also where it becomes apparent that this is a comedy. Yeah, a comedy. It feels like they're trying for a straight up Firefly kind of comedy element. Very much so. He plays this like jerky star captain who's like full of himself, egotistical, and that's kind of the formula they're following with this. So our captain eventually learns from rescuing a friend in need that he is in fact the last man in the galaxy, thus inserting the breeding concept. Yes, you heard me right. This movie has a big breeding fetish going on, or at least the writer does.
So what made you want to become a breeder? You like sex a lot?
Never tried it. Well, the Corps was giving away incentives to get the human population restarted.
So Ellis was part of this breeding program. She ends up with the captain because the captain was rescuing a friend, and he's kind of like left with the baggage of that situation, which is Alice. And she was apparently part of this breeding program to save the human race, to restart the population, because the aliens have been destroying the human race for years and years and years now, to a point where it's becoming an issue. And also just because, very much in the same lines of like Children of Men, there's a problem with people being fertile and being able to have babies and become pregnant, right? So Alice falls for the captain's charms. And this introduces this kind of continuing love triangle into the movie between the captain, Alice, and this other character, Contessa, who's introduced as like, as we later learn, is more of like a cyborg robot kind of character.
Hey.
She slipped out about 10 minutes ago.
I know.
And this does lead to some dialogue dumps throughout the movie, sometimes with silly outcomes, honestly. It's a silly premise, you know. He's the last man on Earth, he feels like this responsibility, he has to repopulate the human race, but he's also kind of this jerk, so the women are kind of like left up to that, which isn't like the best storyline, you know, especially when you get like this egotistical guy who's just a piece of shit anyways, but it does lead to some silly comedy elements, I will admit to that.
Mr. Twinkle carries sperm of 5 of our greatest minds.
And most of this movie is just the captain and his crew being chased the whole time, to like silly outcomes. They like land on this desert planet, they leave the desert planet, they go back to a desert planet. It just keeps going. They run out of missiles, which is strange, because as they become under siege, Contessa and Alice go and hide in a cave. And then Contessa is like, this is stupid, and ends up getting her spaceship and coming back and doing battle with everybody, but not in the way you think. She just like opens up the hatch and hops out, and she has this big machine assault weapon and just destroys everybody. And I was thinking to myself, like, why didn't they just do that earlier in the movie? Like, if this weapon was so powerful, why didn't they use it earlier and just destroy everybody? Why did she wait until now? She literally has the power to launch nukes and destroy all these ships. And it wasn't done to this point. It just doesn't make any sense. This movie's like that. It's completely nonsensical as you watch it. And I guess that's like part of the charm, you know, assuming the comedy holds up for you. They make a run at it, they really do. Is it successful in that? So side note, there's this artificial intelligence on this ship named Blue, who's this entity that the captain builds into his ship. It's very witty, and it's based on this other character in the movie. And they put him in this like little lantern, but it turns out it's like a garden lantern you would buy at like a garden store. It has like the little solar panel on that. It just seemed like really cheesy. I was just like, this is kind of silly. Like, some of the props in this are cheesy, and sometimes they go to great lengths, like for these for the sets, for like the spaceships, and they look great, like the interiors they built for this. And then there's things like that where it's just like, clearly someone just picked it up at the garden center and threw it on the set. It's like, you know, to be this prop, and it was just poor choice. You know, with everything else, I was kind of surprised at those kinds of things happening. Yes, the ending to this movie was a giant train wreck. They couldn't bring it home. You needed like this extra 15 minutes tacked onto the end to add up for all the like loose ends that were in the movie, which was significant. And I don't even think they did that well. Basically, everyone lives happily ever after. And the breeding experiment, I guess, was successful because they have children, as shown in this picturesque moment on the beach.
Alicia's sperm sample gave me a beautiful son. She never told me the identity of the donor, but I know it was Durasi.
Very silly ending, kind of nonsensical, but fitting for the movie. It's such a strange movie. Just like with the action and the pacing and the comedy elements, yeah, I haven't really seen anything quite like this before. Would I recommend it for watching for oneself? Maybe. I feel like you have to really be on board for this comedy angle, and the comedy has to work for you. I don't know if they really do that successfully all the time with the comedy. Some lines seem rushed, some of the deliveries are kind of flat, some of the writing is just bad. And not to say it doesn't work occasionally, I just think with this kind of comedy, you really have to know what you're going for and you have to hit it. And then this feels like they just weren't hitting it all the time, for me personally. Would I watch it as a group? I guess you could watch it as a group. It's entertaining. It does have some silly things that you'll laugh at with your friends, especially with the dialogue and the writing and this whole like love triangle scenario that's happening between the three characters. I mean, it was something. Yeah. Yeah, this was a strange movie. Honestly, I think I'd rather just watch Firefly. I haven't seen that show for a long time. I wonder if it holds up well. Serenity was a pretty cool movie. You know, if you like Firefly, that is. Yeah. Yeah. Serenity, yeah. The last man alive. He must give life to the human race. But is it worth saving? In a galaxy far, far away. A galaxy in the Sci-fi Zone.